So joining us now, and I feel really bad for Casey, we're going to get her to come up at one point so she can give her words of the toast. But we do have Gina Hayes joining us, and she is the senior veterinary consultant with Idexx. So we're going to have a quick panel discussion with regards to the opportunities that really exist in the profession, because many of you know them, let's be honest, but the question is, do you really know them? Because I think one of the first questions that I'd love to ask, and I think I'm going to start this with Kara and then work our way around, is, you're in practice. And as I said earlier, the practice is the engine of this profession. And there's nothing like treating animals day in and day out. But let's say you've been in the profession some time and now you're looking to grow your career. So Kara, what are the options if you're in practice, you love being in practice, what are the options that you can do to grow your career?
Great question. And thank you, Catherine, for starting with, what can we do in practice? Because for many of us, for most of us, we got into veterinary medicine. I wanted to become a veterinary technician to work in practice. Yeah. And so when we talk about career opportunities, sure, there are others which we'll talk about, but working in a practice, that should be one of the opportunities that we get pumped about. And, there are a great many opportunities in practice. We can start, and maybe even just our entire career remains as a credentialed veterinary technician in practice. That's wonderful. Yeah. Now I'm vintage. And I've also had, as many of you know, many spine surgeries. So for me to wrestle, some of the animals that I truly love, I probably wouldn't be able to do it anymore. I still go into practice. I do some relief and I consult, but let's look at what is in practice right now. So we have credentialed veterinary technicians. And then a lot of practices, Wellhaven included, have career ladders. So if you want to stay in practice, maybe you start out as a credentialed veterinary technician. And maybe, you are working on all your skills. You start increasing your skill level. You become the lead veterinary technician. And then, where do we go from there? There are still a lot of opportunities. Practice management. There are, vet tech specialties. There are, even if you don't want to do the specialty or the practice management route, why not become a champion for a disease condition? Now, everyone knows I'm a nutrition nerd, and I was, I'm able to pick a number of different, disease champions or diseases that I can champion. But I focused on nutrition. But hey, you know what? What if someone just wants to see what they got into medicine for? And that's
let me ask you, is it possible within a practice, before we jump in on some of these others, is it possible in a practice to easily move within a practice, a small practice, a medium-sized practice, and a large? Because I think, I want to be realistic for some people, right? So if they're in a small practice and, they've got one veterinarian, and is this onus on them to get greater education to be able to ladder up, or is there opportunities? So how can someone in a small practice continue to elevate and stay in practice if they really love what they're doing?
I think the onus is on everyone within that practice. We as veterinary technicians, veterinary nurses, have to sell ourselves. And we don't like that term, right? We don't want to say, ooh, sell ourselves. But we need to show our value to our team, be it one doctor or 100 doctors. So if we can show our value, and then we also have to make sure that the rest of the team is on board. And so those kind of go hand in hand. And I can't speak for every practice in the country, but I do know that we've been trying to convince every practice in the country to utilize technicians, to the top of our license. Wellhaven is absolutely one of those, as are, I'm sure, many of the hospitals from the technicians that are on the
medium and large. It's all about really making sure part of it is making sure the practice is engaged, but it is on the person to make sure that, boy, are you kind of selling as well. And I'm sorry, guys, I know you don't want to hear that. You want to make sure, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Someone said, Kara Burns is here. So it makes me so happy. But it is jointly effort, right? So it is the idea of really understanding. But I do love this career pathing, and that's the option available. I am curious, does career pathing also exist at Idexx and Hills? Madison, why don't you jump in really quick and explain, for technicians that are looking to go and look outside the profession, is there a career pathing, or no, it's just the world is your oyster?
I guess, combination of both. The world is your oyster no matter where you go. Like Kara said, you see those small opportunities, you jump on them. Hills, and along with Idexx, I'm sure have great opportunities for technicians. I was a technician in college. I worked, knew that I wanted to stay within the medical field, but maybe being a tech was just not for me. I think Hills is a great option because obviously working in nutrition, you guys as technicians, registered technicians, certified technicians, that nutrition is a huge part in medicine and how we treat our patients. With all the research coming out, we know that nutrition is a vital aspect in everyday, whether that's wellness or you're treating diseases. And so technicians are a huge part. If you want to be a representative for the company, your knowledge of having that experience in the practice is huge when you're talking to these other technicians and talking to veterinarians. Also, too, if you're into research, maybe you like the aspect of kind of finding out new advances, new technology. We have a nutritional center where maybe you can work as a technician in our pet care centers. Also, too, we have a really, really awesome program where our veterinary nutritional consultant, where if we have veterinarians on standby who will give you advice. A lot of times, licensed veterinary technicians are the ones that go through and sift through that information before it goes to the veterinarian. So if you are a vintage technician and, maybe lifting things and handling those big dogs is kind of getting out of your scope, that could be a viable option as well. But Hills is a great opportunity for all technicians, as your experience can send you very far within the company.
So I have to say, Gina, because one of the things that I adore about Idexx and always have is the idea that it goes into the niches that people may not necessarily think about. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? I know it's the idea of education and really diving in deep with the students themselves and going in early. So can you talk about some of the opportunities that exist specifically in that element of the profession?
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's a passion of mine. So when I was in practice, one of my roles, as we were talking, Kara was talking about elevation within the practice, one of my roles was staff training coordinator. And so as that staff training coordinator, I started to make connections with my Idexx friends. And then that kind of led into doing education within Idexx. And so being able to educate, people from all over the country and now the world on our products and our services. But then there's also education that we do with our product teams. And so that's part of my role, is to help educate as a technician, the product managers, the engineers, those people who are working every day to make those products that y'all love and want to use. And so we have that aspect. But then we also have that aspect, which I think you're referring to as well, is going out to the schools, out to different, communities and helping, whether it's the shelters or the universities or anything like that, so that we can also help, give back to the community, but teach in that aspect as well.
So when I came in early, I was really excited to see so many folks in here already early, and I was able to have the experience of talking with Beatrice, who's been in practice since 1973. And so you all have kind of hit on it. So as you love this profession, love it, but our bodies may not allow us to do all the things that we want to do anymore. So obviously, Kara, you found consulting work as an incredible option. So give me like 2 or 3 words, each of you, of opportunities that exist for that, experience. We're not saying senior, we're saying experience, people who understand all aspects that is available to them.
Yeah, there are so many things. There are opportunities everywhere you look. Hills and Idexx just talked, and there are, they just explained opportunities that won't break your back anymore.
Your knees.
Yeah, or your knees or your shoulders. So many places have that. Yes, I went into industry first, and then I became a consultant. And let me tell you, it is awesome. I'm very busy, but more importantly, I love what I do because I get to educate. I get to talk with everyone, wherever I am, be it at a conference or working from home, maybe in a hospital doing a consult. There's so much out there, and that's why don't ever think of, our profession with blinders on. If you think it, you can make it happen, because I did. And if I can make it happen, you guys can just blow it up. And I've seen that happen. Gina and Madison have gone into, different roles within 2 highly respected, industries. And I've seen, I see a number of my colleagues chatting in the chat thingy on the side. I'm very technical. The chat thingy.
Chat thingy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then let's call out Catherine. How about Shannon? Who?
Oh my gosh.
Shannon is, the head vet tech. Sorry, Shannon, I don't know your true title, but head vet tech for the Bridge Club.
Yeah.
And so again, there are so many. If you like to write, if you like to speak, if you want to work in shelters, it's limitless, and the opportunities are endless. They're only, narrowed by, what you are afraid to do. I know, Catherine, I get excited.
I know you get very excited. And what I love is that, guys, if you're looking for a job, people are already posting in there that they're looking. So post that into the chat. I mean, we've got folks, this is a great way to network as well. But Madison, what other opportunities? I mean, for someone who is, you were different. You went in, you started as a tech, and then you immediately jumped over. So what are you seeing out there as opportunities? And then we'll end with Gina so we can send everyone to chat.
Yeah, great question. So working as a technician, I worked as a technician for 5 years while I was in college. Definitely did the 5-year college plan. I absolutely love working in the hospital. You meet so many amazing people. And like Kara mentioned several times, there's so many opportunities that are right in your face that you don't even realize are potential opportunities. I grew up on a ranch, and I actually wanted to work in livestock genetics for the longest time. And I met a client who, long story short, he worked in lamb breeding. And so he offered me to come visit him, shadow him. Lo and behold, it's not, I shadowed him. It's not something I wanted to do. The genetics part of it was awesome, but really I was wanting to stay in the field, and kind of what are my different options? Working in the field, I got to know my representatives, my BI rep who sells HeartGuard, NextGuard. I got to know my Idexx rep. I kind of asked them, what are your goals? How did you get there? What can I do to do what you do?
Look at you being a driver. Look at you.
So it's all about the people who, you know, maybe they're there to do one thing for you, but they actually are a great resource of information to help guide you into your next career. Whether you want to sell pet food or not, it could be a resource into helping you make sure or get to another step in your life. So your representatives are your friends, and they're not there just to, you know, they're there to help educate you and provide you with tools to help boost your career and also your opportunities as a technician.
So do you want to add anything else on that one, Gina? Because I know a lot of great stuff there, but I want to be sure before we send everyone to the tables, any parting thoughts of opportunities that might exist for folks?
Yeah, I would echo Madison and Kara. I mean, those are the things, you know, you have the opportunity, make those connections, go to the trade shows, walk the trade show floor, talk to people. But I would also say marry it with your passion. You know, my passion as somebody who went to school to study biology and chemistry, I love diagnostics. And so that's where I gravitated to, because I love to be able to talk about chemical compounds and how that impacts the pet's life. I know it sounds very nerdy.
No, you're a STEM. You're all STEM. You're like the STEM.
I'm all STEM. Yes.
That's
Teach
awesome.
it and live it. And so, you know, marry that passion. I saw somebody chat about dentistry. If you love dentistry, get that certification and then be that champion. Talk about it, but find those opportunities. Go to the trade shows where they're, you know, showing people like cleaners and talk to that person about like, hey, how could I do more with your company and stuff like that.